Hey everyone, it's Steve from the garden. Well, it's the beginning of March and it's a pretty nice day outside, so I thought I'll use this opportunity to go and check on the compost bins, do a quick evaluation of them and maybe flip one of them over because I know the levels are starting to drop on them. And maybe even, if time allows, I will actually start up a new bin. So the first bin we're going to look at, this one's empty except for some food scraps I have in here. I did go through my onions, pull any that were starting to sprout, and I threw them in there. Next, we'll move on to the hot compost bins. Now, when I filled these up last year, what I did is I had all three bins, 1, 2, and 3, all full. And then as materials broke down, I combined them into 2 bins. And now, if you look at it, the materials are now, well, at least on this bin, it's about halfway. And on the second hot compost bin, this material is also around halfway. With both of these bins, roughly about half full, even though the center bin here is actually a little bit smaller, it's a little bit more narrow. I should be able to flip this bin onto this one, and we'll just have one completely full bin. And then I said if time allows, I'll probably fill up this bin over here on the far right so that I have a fresh compost bin started here for the spring. After the hot compost bins comes the leaf mold bin. Now I did fill this up completely in the fall, but as materials break down, the level sinks here. And in the front, I pulled out some of the leaf mold in early December when we had some warmth still. And that's kind of why this level here is down a little bit further. Because on the very bottom, there is finished leaf mold in here. And then I just keep adding to it every year and creating new leaf mold. This is the 2-year-old Johnson Sioux compost bin, or what's left of it. Now there's still materials there in the back I can use, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with that in just a few minutes. This is the Johnson Sioux bin I started last fall. Now I did top this bin off a couple times, but as it breaks down, the levels continue to sink, and I'm not going to add anything new to it this year. I'll just wait for it to completely break down, and then I can use all that material in the fall. Now the last compost area I want to show you is this bed here. Now you might say, hey, this ain't a compost bin, but I set this bed up last fall, and this bed is 4 feet by 24 feet. And I set this up kind of like a big compost bin that's low to the ground. Now I filled this with a combination of leaves, horse manure, kind of alternating those and spreading it out through the whole bed. And then I used the finished Johnson Sioux compost I have from what's now a 2-year-old bin, and I put that on top. That's what this material on the top is here. So you can kind of see what that material looks like. It's real fine. When I finished this bed last fall, you can see here the picture of it, where the bed is totally full at that point. And now as we return back to the beginning of March, you can see the levels drop down. It's dropped down 3 to 4 inches, depending on which spot you're looking at. And I want to be able to take what's left of the 2-year-old Johnson Sioux compost, kind of retop this off some more. Since this is a bed where I'm going to be planting my tomatoes and some peppers, and my hot composting bin finishes up, I should be able to take some of that material and top off this bed one final time before actually planting into it in mid-May. So we'll go ahead and remove the side here, or the front, and you can see this material is no longer just in layers. I did mix this up a couple different times. So it'll be time to just go ahead and flip this one into this bin to the left. And I'm thinking it should bring it right up to the top, and possibly we might have a little bit left over, but I think most of it will fit in there. Now as I go ahead and flip this material over, I do want to kind of note how moist it is and how close it is to being finished. So let's take a quick look. So this is the material. It definitely needs more time to break down, but the moisture level within there is pretty good still. As I'm going through and flipping all this material, I'm still getting some worms in this material. So that's a good sign that they made it through the winter. So this is what I ended up with. I got most of this bin emptied out, and what was remaining I just kind of piled up on the one side. In the bin where I'm flipping everything to, I got this thing over full now. It's way up high, so I just need to give this material more time to break down, and that level will sink down below the pallets. Before my next bin flip, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of like a large quantity of used coffee grounds, maybe like from one of the local coffee shops, or maybe a couple of them. And if I can do that, what I'll do is when I go to do my next bin flip, from the left to the center, I'll mix in the coffee grounds, which will provide a nice source of nitrogen and help revitalize the pile to get hot again and help break those materials down faster. It's the next day and we have another really nice day outside, so I decided to go over to the stable to get another load of horse manure. And what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to take the remains of the center bin, I'll flip it over here temporarily, and I'll start adding the new materials into the center. And then as I'm filling it up, I'll layer in the food scraps and this partially finished compost into the pile. And that partially finished compost will start adding the biology the compost needs overall. And with this horse manure, I know it won't take but a few days for it to reach 160 degrees and will be hot in no time. Now the reason I'm going to do the center bin instead of the right bin is that by filling up the center, next weekend I can then flip the center over to the right and then flip this left bin into the center. So this is how much the bin got filled up with just one load of horse manure. And I did flip all the materials from the right bin into the center and got that kind of intermixed within all the material. To completely fill up this bin, I would have to go get another load of horse manure, which I'm not going to do today. I think I'll hold off on doing that until next weekend, and I'll flip this bin over to the right, and then I'll flip the left into the center. And it's at that point that I'll kind of incorporate the new horse manure in with the materials I picked up today. Yesterday I did go through and add the remaining Johnson Sioux compost from the 2-year-old bin to this bed, which did help raise the level up a little bit, but it still needs more. And at this point I'll have to wait until my hot compost gets done so I can kind of top this bed off with that material. Since that bin's not going to be done for at least 2 months, which would be pretty close to planting time for this bed, when I actually go to plant it, I think what I'll do is, before I actually put that final layer of compost in, I'll put down fertilizer, like a balanced organic fertilizer at that time, and then cover that up with the new compost. Thanks for coming along as we looked at the compost bins today. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave a comment down below. I'll do my best to answer them. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed, got something out of this, and we'll see you on the next one.